Some Christians insist that the earth is a flat disk standing on pillars. Others say it's not, but creation was recent. Other Christians have no problem with evolution and say you should not read the Bible literally. They all read the same Bible, but have a great variety of interpretations. But can we determine what should be read literally and what not, based on the Bible itself? Just some examples. I say this one should not be read literally. I say this one should be read literally. I say this one should not be read literally. Why? I say you should read the Bible as to what it says. However, do not read verses on their own. Always look at the verses around it. The context can tell whether or not it should be read literally. Most of the Bible can be categorized in poetry, history, prophecy, and law. Poetry is an emotionally enhanced image of reality. Poetry is clearly not meant to be strictly literal. If we would read it literally, Solomon's ideal wife would look like this. History is meant to be read literally. Many of the people in there have archaeological evidence. If we look further back in history, we find other people who have experienced things even more extreme. Now, some people say that this could not be taken seriously because the story is so unrealistic. However, we see these people back in genealogies. Where in genealogies does reality stop and fantasy begin? This is the king of the Netherlands, Willem-Alexander, son of Beatrix, daughter of Juliana, daughter of Wilhelmina, daughter of Pinocchio, son of Captain Hook. It doesn't make sense if genealogies that read as dull as a phone book suddenly break from literal to non-literal. It's clear that all these people, like David, Abraham, Noah and Adam, are meant equally literal. Law is a prescription of how people should live. Some laws are universal, others apply only to the Jews. Prophecy is hardest to tell what is literal and what is not. Prophecy is a metaphorical image of the future. There are examples in the Bible where there is a prophecy and directly afterwards is the explanation. It helps to understand what is literal and what is not. Even though the earth is a sphere and which evidence is vast and directly measurable, some people insist the earth is a flat disk with a canopy on top based on a significant amount of Bible verses. Oh, that's a lot of Bible verses! This may give the feeling the Bible does indeed say the earth is a flat immovable disk with a canopy on top. But let's check the context. Look, this Psalm 104 is interesting because it is mentioned 4 times. Yep, it's there, stretching out the sky of heaven, his roof loft on the waters above, he established the earth on foundation so that it never falters. It's there, right? Look again. Read it in context. Bless the Lord, my soul. Lord my God, you are very great. You are clothed in splendor and majesty. You are wrapped in light like a garment, stretching out the sky like a curtain. He lays the beams of his roof loft on the waters above, making clouds his chariot, walking on the wings of the wind. Walking on the wings of wind? Who believes that the wind literally has wings? Raise your hand. 2 questions. Is this psalm meant to be true? Is this psalm meant to be literally true? Looking at the context of the Bible, the answers are yes and no respectively. So be careful with poetry. Read their context and just see how valid these claims are. And even though these verses are not in the book of Psalms, these are Psalms. Ah, sunrise. That's what you thought, didn't you? This isn't sunrise. The sun doesn't move. It's the earth rotating around its axis. Are you saying the sun rotates around the earth? Usually people don't make such a big deal out of the word sunrise, because from our perspective the sun is indeed rising and everybody just understands it. But whenever Christians can be bashed, some people think it's okay to use this argument. Also, when Joshua asked for the sun to stand still, it's clear what he means. Even if this means that the miracle God must provide was to stop the earth from spinning for a while instead of stopping the sun. Joshua didn't have to ask specifically for that. This kind of expressions are found on a lot of places in the Bible. An expression is not exactly literal, but it has a clear meaning. If this is literal, then the son goes into a tent like a groom daily. Also, this "from the ends of the world" simply means something like "from everywhere" or "from coast to coast." It's an expression. Now, how about this circle? Some insist this Bible verse says the earth is a flat disk. Others use this verse to prove the Bible says the earth is a sphere. Besides that this is in a prophetical context, this has to do with translation. Whenever there is a confusion like that, find the original source text and look what translations are possible. This word can be translated into disk, circumference, roundness, sphere, etc. The word that is used seems to mean something round and not otherwise specified. The spherical earth fits the meaning. Translation really matters. In case of a wrong translation, things may seem contradictory. Acts 9 verse 7 says, "The men with Saul stood there speechless. They had heard the voice, but they had not seen anyone." Acts 22 verse 7 says, "Those who were with me saw the light, but they did not hear the voice of the one who was speaking to me." In this example, one Greek word means both hearing and understanding. Another Greek word means both sound and voice, just like seeing means understanding in English in some cases. See what I mean? Now let's take a look at this next example found in Daniel. This verse seems to imply the earth has a center on its surface. However, read the context. This is a prophetical dream of a king, and in the next chapter, Daniel explains what the dream means. Based on that explanation, it is fully clear that this center is not literal. Also, the stars that fall to earth are in a prophetical context. In this verse, it says the stars are falling on earth. In the next verse, it's about a sword that drank its fill. Other translations read a drunken sword. Revelations is a book full of prophecies saying the same thing about these stars. When we read Revelations, and we also find this slaughtered lamb with 7 eyes and 7 horns opening scrolls. Most Christians realize that this slaughtered lamb refers to Jesus Christ, and thus this is not literal. And the only place where the falling stars might be debatable whether to see this literal or not is in Matthew. This is where Jesus is talking about his return. And he also says the stars will fall. However, this seems to be a direct reference to the prophecy of Isaiah. And Jesus seems to say, no matter where you are, you will notice it happening. But if it would mean something like the opposite of the stretching of heavens, it would indeed be undeniable when it happens. And it would be somewhat problematic for us. The book of Job is interesting. This book actually contains contradictions. That makes sense because this book contains a discussion between Job and his friends and eventually with God. It's Elihu stating something that can be translated as a firmament, which is his point of view in the discussion. Later on is more interesting because these are God's words about the foundation of the earth. But he also asks, who stretched a boundary line over the earth? And who laid its cornerstone, while the morning stars sang together? Now I think Job was a real person, and all things mentioned in the book happened to him. But singing stars might mean there are some poetical elements in the book as well? That leaves us with Genesis 1. Yes, it's a single page summarizing some huge unique events, though some are clear what they mean, others are a bit harder to interpret and leave room for debate as to what it means exactly. Yet the context of the Bible and how creation and Adam are referenced in the rest of the Bible leave no room to interpret Adam as non-literal. Also, the flood story is in a historical context, and it leaves no room for evolutionary theory. But I'll get back to how to read the flood story in another video. So if you really want, you can say,
remember that the Bible describes the earth as a flat disk covered by a giant crystal dome with windows in it.
But that says more about you than about the Bible. I hope you enjoyed this video and it's of any help. You can subscribe to my YouTube channel and I hope to see you later.